Do you suffer from burnout? Do you know what the symptoms of burnout are? Do you feel tired? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel like your cup is not full and it never really gets full? This episode is for you. We are talking about burnout, the symptoms of it, and what we can do about it. Come on in.
It's not a personal failing. Burnout, we've created this idea that if people just slept enough, if they just ate enough, then we should tolerate these systems that are driving our burnout.
Right.
And if you were just strong enough, you'd be able to handle it.
Hello and welcome to Find Your Flow, Tricia Vinatieri.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So, the whole premise of this podcast is to talk about flow, what it means to the guest. That helps our audience, it helps the listener see themselves in you and in your expertise. So, I would love for you to share, what does flow mean to you? When was there a time that you felt out of flow? And how did you get yourself back into your personal definition of flow to bring you to what it is that you're doing with clients and patients and everyone in your life now, today?
This is a great question, and I love this idea of flow, and I've spent some time thinking about it since we connected around the podcast, and my mind kept going to groove, like flow is groove. And I realize that's a little bit of a synonym. I'm responding with my definition with another word that represents
Oh,
that.
you brought me back to disco. I kind of like it.
How Stella got her groove back.
That's right. Ooh, we like that.
I think what's at its heart, though, is when we're living in alignment with our values. I think when we're living consistently with the things we value and that bring us passion, whether it's in hobbies, whether it's in our career, whether it's in our relationships, that's what fills our cups. And that's where we find ourselves in those spaces where we kind of get caught up in what we're doing. We kind of get lost in what we're doing in a really, really enjoyable way, or even just contentment. That to me is what flow is. And with that being said, I think sometimes when I think about flow, it doesn't mean that when we've found our flow, every day is easy, that there aren't challenges, that there aren't disappointments, that there isn't pain. But when we're in flow, that sustains us, that fills our cup. So when we have those hard days or those challenges, those disappointments, we're far better able to weather them because of kind of that alignment we have with our values and because what we're doing is filling our cup so much. Like we have that buffer.
I love that. Can you identify a time in your life where you were not in flow, where you didn't have your groove?
Absolutely. So I want to add a little bit to that definition, or at least the experience of flow as I talk about that. So as you and I have been sitting here, we've both been taking in oxygen. Our body's been taking it in, feeding our brain, feeding our bodies, oxygenating our blood. But I doubt both of us have been solely focused on our body bringing in oxygen. So it's happening, it's in the background, we know what's happening, but we're not necessarily attuned to it in the moment. When we have flow, I think it's very similar, where we sometimes know that we have that flow, we have that contentment, but we don't necessarily pay attention to it all the time. We may kind of take it for granted. When we lose our flow, it's like all the oxygen has left the room. All of a sudden, we are acutely aware of oxygen, right? And
Absolutely.
that it's not there.
And I agree with you. It feels like you can't breathe. It feels like you're drowning. Absolutely.
And you're like, where is the oxygen? So that, to me, for my own personal experience of getting out of flow, was just being acutely aware that it wasn't there. And that happened while I was managing a mental health team during COVID, which was hard for everybody. And I think being a leader is hard in the easiest of times, but especially during COVID, it was super
give us a
challenging.
pandemic. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Let's battle test your resilience. Yeah, absolutely.
Battle test. Yes.
And so I was just miserable. And it wasn't the people I was working with. I loved the people I was working with. I was also doing clinical work. It was a PTSD clinic. So I really enjoyed the work, but I just found at the end of each day, I was bone tired. Like I was weird,
Yeah, yeah.
like fatigued, exhausted. And what was a cue to me that I lost my flow and that I was burnt out, I think that at its heart is what it was. Colleagues would reach out to me or my staff would reach out to me with very reasonable requests like, hey, where's this one resource? Or can I talk to you for a few minutes? And I'd be like, why is this person reaching out to
Like,
me?
open your eyes, shut your mouth, go look for yourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like passive
been there.
aggressively responding to the email that the information is in. And again, these were reasonable requests. Like they were well within their right to ask these questions of me. Or, a patient would reach out to me and be like, hey, I did the homework. I had some questions or something happened this week. I wanted to check in. And I'd be like, you're bothering me. And that is
Yeah,
not why I
yeah,
entered the field. I am very much a people person. I love connection. I love being able to work with people and help them develop professionally. So for that for me was a cue that I had lost my flow. And there were even moments where I am not someone who self-harms, but I'd be walking by a staircase and be like, if I throw myself down these stairs and I break enough bones, will I be out
yes.
on medical leave long enough that I can like recover physically and mentally from the
Yeah,
burnout? It's like
yeah.
that is where
I
my
think
mind
that
was
that's
going.
very real. I love that you said that. Thank you so much for saying that because and trigger warning for people who are out there, if you need resources, please, they're out there. We can provide them in the notes for you. It's real. It's absolutely real. And you don't have to necessarily be suicidal and really want to self-harm to have those thoughts of, I wonder if I got into a car accident, would that give me the excuse to take a break from my life? Like, what would happen if I just walked out into traffic? What would happen if I did X, Y, or Z? And it's not so much I want to end my life as it is I just need a break. But I think that that's where people are. I think that COVID did a great job of shining this spotlight on it, especially in the medical profession. And I think it gave people permission to have these kinds of conversations, which is something beautiful that came out of complete and utter crazy time. What did you find in the medical profession during those times? The time
Well,
we call it the COVID times. Like in our family, we're like, do you remember the days before pre-COVID times? It's like very medieval, but
I mean, it was like the Black Plague, it felt like it in many ways, but yeah, and it's so funny when we speak about it that way, it's almost as if like, and now COVID times are over, but there's so many things that
right.
have remained, you know?
After the after days. No, people.
We're still living with the consequences, yeah. I mean, I think you speak to something so important, which is we know that burnout is associated with things like anxiety, depression. There's a lovely organization called the Lorna Breen Association or organization that was founded after a doctor ended her life by suicide during COVID because of burnout. So they've created this foundation and to your point for anybody who may be in that space, either in the health profession field or otherwise, like there are resources out there that can help that pain you're experiencing, but I think that really threw into relief where healthcare providers were during COVID, but even before COVID, like burnout in healthcare has been an issue long before COVID, but COVID really threw into relief how hard it was. And since COVID, we've just been losing so many healthcare providers who are just
Scary.
at a place, yeah, in their life where they're like, this is not worth it. This is not, they've lost their flow. They went into medicine or healthcare because they want to take care of people. They have this passion for it. They're altruistic. And then they get to this point where burnout just saps that wish and desire to help people from them. And it's
For
it's not
sure.
a
They're
personal
empty.
failing.
Ooh,
Very
say
empty.
that again. Not a personal failing.
It's not a personal failing. Burnout, I think, as a culture, we've created this idea that if people just slept enough, if they just ate enough, like all those things are so important. They help us
For
build our
sure.
resilience. But if we do that enough, then we should tolerate these systems that are driving our burnout. And if you were just strong enough, you'd be able to handle it. And so that was the turning point for me in my own journey of losing my flow and finding it again was I got to a point where I had a lot of people in my life telling me like you complain a lot about your job. You sound pretty miserable because that was all consuming in my mind was my sister lives in Hawaii. I'd go and visit her and she was like, "You're in paradise. You're sitting on the beach with your two nieces, and where your mind is back in the Pacific Northwest at your job. Like, that's stealing this moment from you." And so I eventually reached out to a colleague and a mentor and I said two things. The first is, me and my staff are burnt out. What resources exist to help us get through this pandemic, get through this burnout? These are people I don't want to lose because they're so good at their job. Like, treating
Mm.
PTSD is not an easy thing, and I don't want to lose staff. But also, I'm burnt out, and I don't think management is for me. I don't think that this is feeding my soul in the way I want it to. And so he was like, "I got you. The first is, here's some resources to consider. But the second is, there's this job that's coming to our healthcare system. It's called the Chief Wellbeing Officer. And
Love that.
I know, me too. It's just such a fun
Title?
title."
Cannot wait. I love it.
And I was like, "Ooh," my ears perked up. And he said, "It's this job that really focuses on addressing burnout in the organization from the perspective of looking at system drivers. Like, how is the organization driving burnout? And how can we flip the script from what you need to do to address your own burnout to how can we build your resilience so that you can face those challenges at work, but also what can we do as a system to fix the things that are primarily causing the burnout you're experiencing?" So again, it's that shame. Like, this isn't a function of you being too weak to manage your burnout. This is a function of us asking you to tolerate a system that is broken. So I
And
connected with,
resilience.
yeah.
Resilience. Can you define that a little bit? Because I think that people can go to the extreme of that definition. So when you speak of resilience, does that mean I have to armor up to be able to combat anything and everything in my day without the inflictor taking any responsibility? Right? I just don't think that that is a responsible definition of resilience. So how do you, Chief Well-being Officer, how do you define resilience?
Yeah, it is a bit of a double-edged sword, that term. I love it. It's so important. I think about it as someone's ability, even a system, an organization's ability, or a community's ability to bounce back after
Mhm.
traumas they've experienced. So if we use COVID as an example, resilience would be, we were delivering this amount of care. Our staff were satisfied at this level. COVID happened and now we've returned to pre-COVID levels. That's resistance. We bounce back. We have that strength. So a analogy a colleague has used is, it's like bamboo. Bamboo, if you push it over, it springs back.
Yes.
And I love that. And I think that a big part of the work that we as a culture need to do is build resilience, but we need to build it in a way where we say, this is to help you cope with those challenges, but we need to address the root causes of those challenges. I think if we just say it's all about just looking at, the isms in the world or the
Mhm.
drivers of burnout in organizations, it's almost disempowering to staff, and there's nothing you can do. We just have to fix the system. So I think it's a combination of both. We need to pair equipping people in a way that helps them build their inner strength while also fixing those things. So I think about the Desmond Tutu quote where he said, at a certain point, we need to stop pulling people from the river and we need to go upstream and figure out why they're going in. Like,
Why are they getting in there? Right.
why are they getting in there? We're not going to stop pulling people from the river because that may still happen, but we need to figure out how to prevent people from going in. So I think resilience is helping build with that innate ability we have in ourselves to weather some challenging things and grow from it. Where I think resilience can be a little bit tricky is when we talk about it, it almost takes from someone unintentionally. It may be something that we're inadvertently saying when we're like, wow, you're really resilient. It's almost like we're saying we're resilient, therefore you can't show weakness. You're
Right.
not allowed
Right.
to share that you're struggling with the challenge that's causing you to be resilient. And we see this a lot in, biases and things like that in healthcare when people are treating BIPOC patients, where they'll be like, you're so resilient, so therefore I'm going to give you less pain medications or take your concerns less seriously because you're so strong and you're so resilient. So I think that happens in healthcare too, and other areas where we're talking about burnout and resilience, that we can't let it be what prevents us from also saying, and what support do you need? And
I
it's
love that.
okay to struggle. It's okay to be in a place where you step back and you say, am I living my best life? When I go to work and I'm just so tired, or I get the Sunday scaries and I'm just feeling really anxious about going to work tomorrow, is that my best life? Like, I can be resilient and not tolerate these challenges that are not necessary.
I had a very good friend, my college roommate, and this is back in college. So we were in our young 20s. So the wisdom that came from this 20-year-old was it lives with me to this day. And she said, "You know what, Lisa? There's a lot we can do. There is. There is a lot we can do in life. It's just not, we're not supposed to be doing everything." And here at the age of 20, she said, "I've written off a lot that I could probably do with my life. I'm not going to be an Olympic gymnast, but I am going to be the best version of me. So let's go to the bar." Like it was just this little rally cry of let's have a good time. But those words have stuck with me. I'm in my 50s and they've stuck with me to this day of there's a lot we could do, but that doesn't mean we're supposed to be doing it all and not supposed to be doing it alone. So I love that you hand this accountability to all sides of a conversation. And in that accountability doesn't disempower anybody who's at the table. In fact, what it does is empower everybody to have a voice and then come up with a solution that fits everybody, that can help raise everybody up, which is fabulous. So if that's, man, a byproduct of a pandemic, okay, then let's find that silver lining. That's a silver lining to me. One of the scariest things that I've experienced in my life, and how old was I? Probably 25, 26, something like that, young, when I had my first panic attack. And I didn't know what was going on with me. And I went to the ER. And this young doctor, probably a medical student, it was a teaching hospital, he looked at me and he said, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "I can't breathe. I think I'm having a heart attack." And he said, "You're young 20s. You're not having a heart attack. What you are is ridiculous. That's what you are." And I said, "I can't breathe. Like, there's nothing ridiculous about not being able to breathe. I legit can't breathe." And he gave me a paper bag and he said, "Here, use this."
Oh my
And
gosh.
I thought right. And I thought to myself, one, am I just in a really bad hospital? Two, is that just a really bad doctor? Three, by the time like his senior came in to see me to explain, your heart is okay. The cardiologist says your heart's okay. What this is a panic attack, and this is what a panic attack is. He was already gone. And I thought to myself, where is his capacity for empathy? Where is that? And is he in the right profession if he doesn't have that? And that was way before a pandemic ever hit. So this whole taxing people to the point of losing their humanity, losing their ability to hold someone in grace, it's long standing. And I think it's cultural, because now looking back in my 50s, I'm like, that was a young guy who probably hadn't slept in at least 24 hours, was just like, this is bullshit. I want a better case. Like, I'm here to actually learn. I want a better case than this hysterical girl who thinks she's having a heart attack. Can I get something cooler? I get it. I wasn't that cool. But there's this capacity to learn, I think, through any situation, any experience, we get to learn. Burnout in the medical field scares me. It fascinates me. It scares me. And it's because, number one, as a potential patient, like, am I going into the care? I'm air quoting everybody who's just listening and not watching. Am I going into the care of someone who has lost their capacity to care for me? Are they just going through steps? And I think we see that when we go to see a doctor and it's a 5-minute appointment and they say, "We're only here to talk about one thing." And I'm like, yeah, but I'm menopausal and I have a list of 500 things that all come under the headline of menopause. But you're going to, like, what, just talk about my hot flashes? Right. And that scares me, that the level of our care, at least in this country, the level of our care can decrease simply because the people who are responsible for caring for us, they don't have it anymore. They just don't have it because nobody's caring for them. And these are some of the most beautiful, knowledgeable souls on the planet. who are here because they love us. They love the human experience so much that they want to help each and every one of us live our best lives. How do we support our medical community? And how can we, as the potential patients, move through this system to receive what we need to be seen, to be heard, to be valued? How can we do all of that? I think, feel, know that 2026 is a time to embrace more wealth, more opportunity, more prosperity, more joy, more happiness. But we sort of have to get it together. So to get us there, I created a program called the Held Container. Let me ask you a question. Does your life work because you feel you hold everything together? You brace for things, you brace for life. If you can say yes to that, then I invite you to pause. Take a breath. The Held Container is a small, intentional program designed to replace bracing with structure so your nervous system can rest and money no longer feels stressful or overwhelming. This isn't about pushing harder, fixing yourself, or doing more. It's about creating safety, stability, support where you've been carrying everything alone. I've opened this program for only 6 people. 6 people who are ready to allow money to feel safe instead of stressful and to experience what it's like to be held by structure rather than pressure. I think we can all identify with that. So if this feels calm instead of exciting, it's not a coincidence. Your system is already responding to the Held Container. Apply now. Apply at nagarelife.com. I hope we get to work together.
Yeah, I think in many ways it's $1 million question. And I think it's important to know that there are resources, there are frameworks, there are solutions to burnout. And there's such a need to address burnout for all the reasons you're talking about. We know when medical staff are burnt out, quality of care goes down. That is oftentimes very apparent in your example of going in to talk to your doctor and they're like, 5 minutes, make it quick. And you're like,
Right.
it took me 8 months to get this appointment.
And it could take me 4 minutes and 35 seconds to conjure up the courage to tell you what my symptoms are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the other thing that most of us, when we go to a hospital, many times we're anxious because something in our lives, either psychologically or physically, is not going right. So going into a hospital, learning about what might be going wrong or what options exist, or we're going in for surgery, like you're going into the space feeling very vulnerable. And so having that type of interaction you had with that resident in the ED and the ER, I think can be so upsetting when you're in that place of vulnerability. You're like, I'm here asking for help and this is how I'm getting treated. And I will tell you from the perspective of doctors that are in a place of burnout who truly have found their calling and they're good at what they do and they truly care for patients and they have that empathy, it is incredibly morally distressing for them to be in a place where they're like, I don't have enough time to meet with my patients. I feel like I've completely run out of any care I can provide or any
Right.
empathy. Like I want it, I want to summon it, but I just don't have any gas in the tank left. Like that is incredibly morally distressing. And we also have a healthcare system in the US that is very bureaucratic. So I'm sure you've had the
Yes.
experience where you've gone to the doctor and you said, hey, I have this ache in my shoulder. I don't think it's a broken bone. So like, can I get an MRI? And they're like, yes. But first, you need to get an
Yes.
x-ray.
Yes.
You need to do physical therapy. And then we'll let you do an MRI. Or we need to discharge you early, even though that's counter to our medical advice or our clinical decision making, but that is what the policy is saying, or that is the pressure we're getting because we need to be able to open this room up for somebody else. So I think our doctors and our nurses and our medical providers become the face of those decisions when in fact that pressure is coming from the organization, it's
Yeah.
coming from our healthcare systems, it's coming from insurance companies. And so There's a new term that's come out in the research called administrative harm. And that's where people in healthcare are experiencing moral distress because they are that decision making, what is in their capacity to provide good care is being hamstrung by these guidelines, these policies, these insurance limitations and things like that.
Administrative harm. I mean, yeah. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My God. That right there tells me as a patient that there's a level of understanding for the person who's actually standing in front of me, who is not the administrator. The doctor or the nurse is there really to care for me within the constraints that they are faced with. And that really stinks.
Yeah.
That really stinks. So to
It's a
be able to
lose-lose
see
for
it,
everybody.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I'm like putting my mind into the mindset of the caregiver and the amount of distress that they feel because their moral compass takes them into, I would love to be able to just click my pen off, put everything to the side, sit down with you and actually talk to you. Let me hold your hand. Meanwhile, they've got somebody screaming at them that they should have left the room 5 minutes ago. That breaks my heart. That breaks my heart. And it's making me understand concierge care, private care. And listen, the romantic in me would love for the town doctor to show up with his bag, just be
Yeah.
able to know my name and talk to me and have everything be calmer and not about insurance codes and this, that, and the other thing. I was just trying to get a mammogram a couple months ago. The number of hoops that I had to go through just for basic care, what I considered basic care. But the insurance company called and said that they needed a paper, a form from the doctor that stated why and there was a certain name for it that insulted me so much because it was like, is this medically necessary? Is a mammogram medically necessary?
Wow.
I was administrative harmed. I was
Yeah.
administratively harmed. I really was, even though eventually I was able to go and get the mammogram and then get hormone replacement therapy. And that was a whole other, well, is the hormone replacement therapy, is that medically necessary? I don't know. You be a 54-year-old woman who is, feeling like she simultaneously is freezing and sweating at the same time. You tell me
Yeah.
if it's medically necessary.
My gosh, that is ridiculous. And I think it's a
But I
very
think it's indicative
representative
of
story.
care. Yeah, I think that this is just like, rinse and repeat for a whole lot of people on this planet. My gosh. So talk to me about your beautiful title.
Sure. I am enjoying this conversation, even though it's really heavy because of what it is that we're seeing in healthcare right now. And there are many other industries where there is burnout as well. But I just want to highlight that when people go into medicine, it's because they want to work with
Yeah.
humans. They don't want to sit
Yeah.
in front of a computer, fill out forms. And so when I've worked with various people in this role as a chief wellbeing officer, many of the physicians or nurses or any other people that are providing direct patient care, they've said to me, the thing that fills my cup when I'm feeling really burnt out is when I'm able to sit with a patient and actually give them my full attention, or I'm able to help them figure out what they've come to see us for, or I'm able to deliver good care. Like that is what fills my cup. It's not patient care that is driving burnout. It's really administrative stuff.
Mm.
It's unnecessary demands on people's time. It's not having the resources, which can include staff. It's being asked to see, 15 patients a day, and this is the amount of time you have. And of course, you'll have a nurse knocking on your door when it's time to wrap up and move on to the next person. So the chief wellbeing position is maybe about 15 years old, and it's really intended to serve as a leader in the organization to understand for that specific organization or hospital or whatever it is, what are the key drivers, like the specific key drivers for that organization. And that comes through talking with staff. Like, what makes your day hard? What are the things that you find drain you? What are the things that you find just make your job a little bit harder than they need to be? And when we talk about some of those things, the things that are like, I call them pebbles in your shoe, comes from the
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali quote that it's not the mountain that wears you down, it's the shoes in your pebbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the pebbles in your shoe. Exactly. A
Yes.
little bit of a spoonerism there. Yeah. And part of my work is to work with these groups, to work with these clinicians, these providers to say, what are those pebbles? And how can I help empower you to remove those pebbles? And that may look like them talking with, their leader, their boss, their manager, and saying, we're doing the process this way, and it's adding all these extra steps, and we could just do it this way. Or I'm being asked to do things that are not allowing me to practice at the top of my license. Like I should not be the one that's restocking the medical supplies as a physician.
Right.
Like we hire people to do that. And I'm not saying that that job is above anybody, but people are like, that's time I could be spending with patients. But now I have to hunt down, latex gloves before this exam. So part of it is empowering teams and staff to make changes in their environment that are within their sphere of control, like empowering them to make change. And they might be small changes, but going back to that pebble analogy, if you have 15 pebbles in your shoe and you're able to get rid of 5 of them, that may make your day a little bit easier. And then if you build that into the culture of your clinic or your department, and you're kind of going on this hunt for gold, what are other pebbles we can get rid of, you can really find that it makes a difference. It's kind of like when you have a door in your house that like you have to lift at a specific angle to get it open. Or for me, it's my garage opener. I have to be like in this precise place in my driveway.
Sweet spot.
The sweet spot. Yeah. And it's like, if one day somebody fixed that and no matter where I was in my driveway, my garage door would open, would that make my life so much better? No, but I would be like, oh, that's a relief. That's one less thing. It's like once it's not there, you realize what a hassle it was. So I work with a lot of teams around doing that. So that's kind of like the frontline level. And then meeting with them and saying, what are the things that may be out of your sphere of control that I can advocate for changes at a system level with our leadership of this hospital? What are some of those things? And so I do gap analysis where I meet with staff and listen to those things. And then I can go to leadership and say, hey, did you know that in this particular clinic, they're having this problem? And they're like for one clinic I worked with, it was a piece of equipment that worked like 50% of the time. So they would bring a patient in and be like, crossing their fingers, is this going to be the day the machine is going to work? And it's like, that's stressful. That is so unnecessarily stressful for the patient, for the staff. And they're like, oh, we'll just order a new one. It's like things like that, where it's, again, it's a series of those things. And then the other big piece of what I do as a chief wellbeing officer is culture change. So that can be things like in the facility and organization I work for, they instituted this thing called Operation Exhale, which I encourage anyone listening, if you're a leader, to consider this. And
that's fabulous. Just the name is fabulous.
I love it. And I work for an organization that is kind of has a military mindset. So operation is, of course, it's going to be Operation Exhale, but I love it nonetheless. And the idea is that if it's a 30-minute meeting, you wrap up at 25 minutes. So everybody has 5 minutes to either physically get to their other appointment, take a bio break, take a breath, recenter, stand up, move their body. Or if it's a 60-minute meeting, you wrap up 10 minutes before the hour. That is really not that big of a change we're asking people to consider when they're holding meetings. And there's this thing called the Parkinson's principle, which is you will fill the amount of time you have available.
You will.
Like, you won't be efficient. You'll be like, we have an hour. We're going to just fill that hour. Even
and
if
I'm sorry, like if you can't get it in 50 minutes, you're not going to get it in that last 10.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is solid logic. And that's what we're finding. So by instituting this, and I love it, I'll be in meetings from different departments, and someone will say, we really want to honor Operation Exhale, so we're going to wrap up now. And that in and of itself sends a message to staff, like, we want you to have that time. We care about your well-being.
Yes, you matter.
You matter, absolutely. And then things like encouraging leaders to, when they take time off, they fully disconnect. Now, I've heard leaders say, yeah, but I tell my staff I may work when I'm on leave, but I don't expect that of you. I'm like, but you're still going to have staff that are like, that either A, seems like a trap, or B, if that's the standard you have for yourself, it's hard for me to believe that's not the standard you have for me. And there's a
Lead
lot of
by
research.
example.
Exactly. Exactly. Like that modeling is so important. And there's strong research to show that one of the things that drives burnout in physicians is not fully disconnecting when they're on leave. And also, if you tell someone, I'm going to be on leave, I need you to cover for me, but you're like checking in, you're like
Right? What does
creeping in the
that say
background.
about the other person? Right,
Exactly. Like,
right.
I don't trust you. So, and then put in contingency plans if it's a true emergency. Like, here's my personal cell if the world is falling apart and I'm the only one who can keep the sky from falling.
If
But
we have
just
another pandemic.
like, knock on wood.
I
Knock on
know.
wood, Lisa.
I don't joke, Lisa. Stop it.
Too soon.
Too soon. There's the PTSD. Oh, God.
I
It's
know.
heart-rocking.
I know. It's such a collective trauma for us all, and we're still clawing our way back from it, healthcare or otherwise, just as a globe, as a national, international
Absolutely.
community. It's something we're still reeling from. So that's a lot of what my work looks like. And then working with leaders to develop effective leadership behaviors, because you probably know this, but something like 70% of people leave their job because of their boss. And
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think most people, I'm not going to say all, I think most people have the capacity to be a good leader if they know what those behaviors are. But when you become when I became a manager, nobody told me, they told me how to do payroll, how to approve time off, how to do performance appraisals, how to, do access different systems that only managers had access to. But they weren't like, this is how you build psychological safety. This is how you ensure a culture of accountability. This is how you are an emotionally intelligent leader. Like, none of that was taught. And so as I'm working in organizations, so I'm in a full-time CWO role, and then I have a consulting business where I do this work with leaders because it brings me so much joy. Even though it's slow, culture change is a slow moving ship.
Yes. But you're doing your part.
I'm doing my part.
You're removing one pebble at a time.
Exactly. And I track those pebbles. Like, in the last year, I helped teams remove something like 60 or 70 pebbles. Like, that's.
That's fantastic. That's several shoes right there. That's fantastic.
It totally is. It brings me gratification. But so a lot of the work I do is helping leaders develop those skills. Like, how do you build psychological safety? You can't just say, don't worry, people, you can be psychological safe with me. Like, I'm a psychologically safe person. It's like trust. It's like, show me. Show me the money. Like, show me
I'm
with
not
your
falling.
behavior.
I'm not. I don't know if you're going to catch me. You're across the room. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I do a lot of work with leaders around what behaviors they may be inadvertently engaging in that are driving their staff's burnout. Like cultural things like I just talked about, but also specific behaviors, kind of having this mentality that staff have unlimited capacity. So I work with leaders around, if you're going to give a staff another task, you need to be asking them or yourself, and what am I going to take off your plate? Because I know at a certain point, that plate's going to be completely full, and it's probably already overflowing. And then things like job crafting. What are the things that bring you the most joy at work? Now, I don't think any of us have the privilege of 100% of the things we do at work bring us joy.
Yes,
I wish that were the case. And I would love to talk to those people that have found that. I think it's a bit of a
There
unicorn.
are some necessary things, responsibilities. Things. Yeah.
Definitely. So those aside, what are the things that bring you joy at work that we can give you more opportunities to do that also help our mission here? Like, are you someone who loves spreadsheets? Some people love spreadsheets. That fills their cup.
I do. I'm one of them. I love them. They make me happy.
I love making order out of chaos. So I'm definitely,
Yes.
Or anytime
I love me a puzzle. I love it.
Do you enjoy organizing? Like organizing?
I love it. Listen, I'm a feng shui expert. Like I've studied it. This is my life. I love it. Are you kidding me? I love it. Like you're talking about like removing pebbles, and I'm like, yeah, that's in my world. You've just feng shuied your job, or you feng shuied your space, or you feng shuied your mind, or your computer, or whatever, or your processes get feng shuied. I love efficiency. It's like Give me more of that. You could wrap that and put it under a Christmas tree and give it to me on my birthday. I love it so much.
Lisa, we need folks like you in healthcare so much because some of it is like the physical space itself. We know that
Yeah.
physical clutter drives anxiety, especially in women.
Yes.
And it's
Absolutely.
like, how can we? So sometimes on a Friday afternoon, if it's quiet, I'll be like, what's going on with that storage office? Does anybody want to help me organize it?
Like
It's like,
that would be if I were the doctor, I would be like, I'll come in off hours and I will take care of all of this. Just give me 10 minutes.
totally. That was
And a
actually,
label maker.
my gosh. Yeah. I have a Cricut, which makes beautiful. You don't have a Cricut.
Yes.
But yeah, that was actually one of the Pebbles, one of the groups. It was a group of, I think it was LPNs, and they said, we have Omni cells that lock. So you can only, it kind of monitors what medical supplies are being taken out or
Mhm.
if they're medications, things like that. And one of them said, it's such a mess. It just drives me batty every time I go to try to grab something and I can't find it. Like all of the wound care things should be in the same space. So I was like, I'm pretty sure you can change that, but let me just verify. So I went to the chief of the department that is like over how you can organize omnicells, and he's like, of course, have at it. Like these are the only
Ah,
things to consider. And they were like, I mean, exactly. They did it in 10 minutes and they were like, that was easy. Hit the easy button. Like that was easy. And again, like where are there other places we can do that? So it's a multi-frontal approach because burnout is driven by many things. I will say the last thing that I really focus on is building community. We know when people feel socially connected at work, it increases their engagement, it increases the retention, and it engages people's happiness at work. When you have happy staff, you have happy patients. So
absolutely.
that to me is oftentimes my fiscal pitch for why you need to invest in burnout, addressing burnout and promoting professional thriving is when staff are unhappy, that directly impacts the patients. So, a lot of
Absolutely.
what I do is around building community and ensuring that we have resources in place when staff experience adverse events at work, like somebody codes during a surgery or someone has a heart attack in the emergency department. Like, those are distressing experiences for any humans, and healthcare workers are at a higher likelihood of experiencing them. And so I've helped institute peer to peer support where we have trained peers who then provide confidential space for people to say, I'm resilient, I can do this work, but it's also helpful to talk to someone and just kind of work through what I'm going through around this. And then we have like a team based critical incident stress management team that we deploy when kind of work groups experience some type of critical event. So that's a big part of my work too. Like, how do we ensure people are supported, they have those safe havens, but we're giving them opportunity to also connect with the people they work with as a reminder that not only must we find humanity in our patients in the work we do, but also the people we work with.
Man alive. The thing that keeps repeating in my brain is if you take care of so much being scattered, like being just all of these annoyances, if you can take care of annoyances and make things a little bit simpler, a little bit more efficient, that gives you brain capacity to be able to give like 80% of your brain towards a person, a project, something of importance. And now 20% is off, like being annoyed or whatever. But now you are at 80% capacity, and that is far better than the 60% that you were at, or the 40% that you were at, or even like the 30% that makes you, like, I hate to say it, but more than apathetic, but resentful of the patients that are in front of you. Right. And I think that that can be said for any field whatsoever. I also think it can be said for individuals, even if you don't work. Burnout is real. So when you're experiencing, listeners, when you're experiencing signs, symptoms, and we are going to ask our chief well-being officer here what the symptoms are, when you're suffering from these symptoms, to be able to just pause and recognize it has a name. It's called burnout. And what can I do? I love that you said burnout is like having a shit ton of pebbles in your shoe, and how many can we get out of our shoes? What are the easy ones? What's the low hanging fruit? What can we take care of very quickly? Those are going to be those big annoyances that you can organize very, very quickly. It's going to be the stuff in your life that you can throw out. And listener, you know what that is. It's, you know, it's less intrusive than the door that you have to shimmy in order to open it. It's probably the bag of clothes that's sitting in front of it that you step over. It's that kind of stuff. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And that in and of itself starts to lift you up out of this anxiety, this depression that is under the label and umbrella of burnout, but then gives you the strength and the capacity to do even more. Because then maybe if you're not so busy walking over obstacles, maybe you then have the energy to fix the door and have that move easily and swing easily. Then maybe you have the capacity to go, that door actually is a window that I never noticed because it's so dirty. I can clean that. Now you're starting to have vision and hope, and that starts lifting you up to be even more energized, to engage more in your life, to really grasp onto those things that you love and start living in that level of life, which is really beautiful to be in. So let's go to the very beginning of symptoms of burnout. Because I do agree with you. I think people get into these rote behaviors of this is just how it is. And we soldier on because that's our culture. We don't stop. We don't pause to go, what could be wrong? Instead, we sort of go, well, the problem is me. Hey, it's me. The problem is me. And then we wear that judgment, right? We sew it into our clothing and tattoo it onto our skin to just say, I'm the problem. But how about, can we just stop with all of that and just say, these are symptoms that you're experiencing, and there's stuff we can do about that. What are the symptoms of burnout?
Great question. So burnout is characterized by just fatigue that doesn't go away when you've slept, you've gone on vacation. It's just like, I think I was saying earlier, this kind of bone deep weariness where you're just so tired and everything feels insurmountable. Like the amount of energy it takes to do anything can be really hard. The second is feeling this sense of callousness towards yourself and others. Like you just, excuse my language, but you just have no more shits to give. You're just
Yes.
like, I don't have
I'm
the
out.
emotional capacity. Yeah, I am all out.
You don't have to excuse your language, by the way.
Okay.
Like I
I know.
curse on here all the time.
I love it. I love it.
I've
So yeah,
probably been cursing and I just haven't even realized it.
I mean, if there's one thing my dad taught me well, it's how to curse well. So,
We
but
love him.
yes, we're all out of shits. And then there's this sense of feeling just ineffective in being able to make change. Like just burnout is survival mode. You're just getting by. You're just doing what you need to survive. You're not thriving. That's the opposite of burnout. And so there's this aspect of feeling like nothing I do will matter. So why even try? Like that motivation can go away, or just the sense of like when we talk about it in the context of healthcare or in one's career, they may feel like, I did all this work to arrive into this profession. I don't even feel like I'm making a difference. That's what it can look like. And so absolutely burnout can be experienced in many different places. And so I really like what you were saying about just finding those things you can do to make small changes. And I think people will be surprised how quickly those add up and how they can help you build that sense of self-mastery as you do them. Like, okay, I made this small change and it felt really good. Maybe I can do a little bit more. But don't carry the shame of burnout. I think that's something I see so often when I work with people. They're like, or even leaders, they're like, what is my staff doing wrong that they're burnt out? I'm like, you mean what is the organization doing to cause them to feel burnt out? Is that what you mean? So sometimes like half of what I do
I do
is
not
just
think that means what
education.
you think that means.
You keep using that word. I don't
You keep
think
using that.
So yeah, so I think that's the other thing, like giving yourself grace, giving yourself compassion, and maybe looking at like what is driving my burnout. And this isn't a personal failing. Burnout doesn't mean you're not resilient. It just means you're in situations that are overtaxing you. And maybe part of that is like, where do you start saying no in your life? Talk to a lot of people about strategic no's. Like, I think a lot of us are yes people. People ask things of us. Like, I'm someone who I love to help people. So if people are like, oh, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? I'm like, sure, absolutely. And then it ends up like they just didn't want to do it. Now I'm stuck doing it. So I've gotten really good at strategic no's because I'm like, yeah, this is Exactly. Pause. Don't just knee jerk reaction because I only have so much energy and I really want to be judicious in how I spend it. And I think of this quote by Donna Markova: I will not die an unlived life. And I think when I was experiencing burnout, I was like, I am not living the life that when I get to the end of my life, I'm like, I felt pretty good about that. And that for me was probably the greatest impetus for me being like, I need to find a different job. Like, I'm miserable. And I don't think I'm going to look back on this period of my life and being like, I soldiered through. I got through that. No, I think I'll be
Right.
like,
Oh, and
I'm
I'm
glad
proud of it.
something changed.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
proud of it. Absolutely not. So, yeah.
I'm so proud of the pain that I suffered. No, no one says that. No one says that
And you don't get a
ever.
medal. No one gives you a
And you do
medal
not, I
for,
mean, seriously, at the end of the day, my husband, he runs marathons. Now our daughter runs marathons.
wow,
And he would say, I do it for the t-shirt. My daughter's like, I do it for the medal. And I'm like, yeah, like there are things in life that are marathons. You don't get a t-shirt or a medal. Not that I would run a marathon for a t-shirt or a medal. Let's be very clear. I'll cheer for you at brunch. I will think of you. I won't even watch you, but I will think of you and cheer for you while eating brunch. That's my extent. I love this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to honor the exhale. Is that what it is? The moment of
Operation
exhale?
Exhale. Uh-huh.
Operation Exhale. I want to honor Operation Exhale. But seriously, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for a brilliant, heartwarming, caring conversation about a subject that is very real, not only in the medical profession, but in every single profession. I just think it really hits home for a lot of people, given that we have been through a pandemic. All eyes are on medicine now, and we're starting to see where are the cracks in the foundation. And instead of looking at that with hopelessness, we can look at that as an opportunity to make change, an opportunity to make things better. And quite frankly, in every field, how about you go hire yourselves a chief well-being officer? Because that says a lot about the company themselves. They are
Agreed.
willing to say, mea culpa, we need to make change. Where can we make change? And the ego is automatically erased. It's eradicated because everybody comes to the table with this same thought process of how do we make things better? And it starts with the individual listener. So take a look at your life. If you are experiencing any symptoms of burnout, pause. Pause. There are resources. Start to look at your life. Where can you start saying no, thank you to a whole lot of shit? And yes, please to the things that actually start filling your cup. Sometimes I give homework to listeners at the end of an episode. This is one of them. So I'm going to encourage you listeners to get a jar. Get a jar. Go get a bunch of pebbles. You can get those at any craft store. And every time you do something nice for yourself, take one of these pebbles, put it in the jar, and watch how quickly it adds up. And go, oh my God, I'm no longer walking with this burden. Instead, I get to admire what I enjoy. There's your homework. Give yourself a visual of all the things that you love and appreciate about yourself. And if you're having a hard time with that, we're going to have resources in the notes so that you can go and get yourself some help. All right. Thank you so, so very much. Tricia, I'm going fancy. Vinatieri, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for this conversation.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, Lisa, talking with you today.
And if by chance there is a listener out there who would like to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So if you go to cliniciancareconsulting.com, you can find all of my information. I'm also on LinkedIn. So always happy to just chat with people, low pressure, about what resources exist or what are some things your organization can start to institute to really work towards thriving instead of surviving in burnout.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And listeners, please tune in next time for another wonderful conversation. See you. Okay, that's it, listener. Before you go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and set your notifications to never miss an episode. If you'd like even more with me, come on over to nagarelife.com. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, go on and share it. Share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it as well. All right. I'll see you next time.